you so much for got it. Okay, yes, thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for coming. Like she said, my name is Sera, and I'm going to just share my screen so I can start my presentation. One second. Is there any way, do you know what the meeting ID is?
Yeah, the meeting ID is 8. Here, I'll just type it in the chat.
You can say it out loud because I have to type it.
856
Uh-huh.
2916 4880.
Okay, let's see if that'll work. Technical difficulties. Okay, it's saying that only the host can do it. And you, my dear, are the host.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Try now. No. Okay.
I can just, do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah, and then I can share it.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. It just sent. Did you get it?
I'm just opening it right now.
Okay, good.
Okay. It's kind of sharing as a PDF, so it's going to look like this.
Okay. Okay, this is how it's, okay, great.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay, so shall I begin?
Yep.
Okay, so thank you for having me. I'm very honored to share my experience and to give you guys a bit of advice. So my name is Sera, I'm 22. I was born in Tucson, Arizona, but I moved here when I was 16. So it's been a few years. Both my parents are from the Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and I really hold my heritage and all my traditions in my country. Really, it's really sacred to me. And I think that it helps guide me through this industry to remember where I'm from and to remember why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. I live in Brooklyn. I study international relations and translation at NYU, and obviously I model. I speak French and Chinese, so I'm studying like professional translation, and I was thinking maybe I could work for the United Nations or be a diplomat or something of the sorts, but modeling is also going really well, so that could happen. But I'm open for both. I love modeling, I love creativity, I love creating art, and I mean, who doesn't want to be on TV and things like that? That's really cool. But I also really value education and like what I'm learning, because I think it's a lot more valuable when you get on set and you can actually have a conversation with the person that is running the set. And that's a lot more valuable than just being one of the models who's there and you don't really know what's going on. You're just like, I'm here to look pretty. It's different. It's a different experience. So that is my intro. Okay, next slide, if you will, please. Okay, so the question I got was how to become a model. And the very first thing I would say is being able to visualize it. Because when I first moved to New York, a lot of people were, I mean, not a lot, a few people were telling me that I should model just because I was a little bit tall, awkward, skinny, whatever. But it wasn't until like I started going a little bit more on the internet, and like around that time, that's when the Explore page on Instagram became a thing. So then it was a lot easier to see pictures that you necessarily wouldn't have looked up yourself. So then I started to see what modeling was about and how it changed over the years. And I was seeing the different kind of girls modeling and the different kind of modeling that you could do. So then I began to really imagine it and see it in my head. And part of it is more than anything, like, I think that people think that like their goals are limited to where they are or what they look like. And what I've learned is as long as you can see it in your head and really believe that it's true, it will always come true. There's never really any other barriers besides yourself. So that's why I had to make sure that I told you guys, like, seeing it in your head is more important than doing the technical stuff. So seeing it in your head, seeing exactly what you want. So having that in your head, visualizing a lot. And then as you can see on the right side, I kind of posted a picture of my vision board. And if you look down, there's like an NYU cap. And I just got into NYU. I didn't even know, like, this just happened. So I'd been manifesting that for a really long time. Like I said, if you can see it, it can happen. And you can see some like magazine covers and some like fashion shoots, like all of that's part of me visualizing. And then I can go ahead and make it happen. Because then once it's solid up here, no one can really destroy your dream. Nothing can destroy it because you've already visualized it. And honestly, your brain can't tell the difference between something you made up in your head and like something that actually happened. So step 2, the actual technicalities. You're going to want to take, if anyone is interested in modeling, you're going to want to take digitals, which are, if you look at this picture, I'm in the shorts and a little tank top, just like a wider black tank top and pants. And you show like the front side of you, the side, little profile, headshots, close up, just no makeup, you simple, fresh. You take some pictures, you send them to agencies. You look up New York City agencies, there's like probably 200. You send them to all of them, you email all of them, even go on Instagram, DM them, and keep sending your pictures out. And for me, it took like 2 years or something like that for anyone to even look my direction. I had to keep sending and sending and sending and sending and sending, which is why I put last, never give up. And that little picture of me, like looking up like this. I included that picture because I wasn't signed at this time, but this is still one of the most beautiful pictures that someone has ever taken of me. And I got that photo shoot just through being myself and like talking to some random photographer that I met. It wasn't an agency that helped me. I wasn't signed, but I was still trying to like practice my modeling, and I just didn't want to give up. So, and I find it funny that that's actually one of the best pictures of me, despite all of the brands that I've worked with to this day. So yeah, imagine it, then do the technicalities, and then repeat, never give up, repeat that, repeat. So yeah, that's how I would say I started. Always have faith in yourself. Next slide, please. Extra tips that I wanted to mention about getting signed is to always practice, because even if you're not signed or actually working, you can still practice your posing, you can still practice your walking, you can still practice the attitude. When I say attitude, I mean confidence. You can still practice like, okay, the day that I go and then I get my contract, how am I going to act? What am I going to look like? What am I going to wear? I'm going to be direct. I'm going to give a firm handshake. You know what I mean? So you want to practice. And for me, whenever I have like a big shoot coming up, I always like, I'll watch like video, because it's not just about like, at least for me, it's more of an art. So I want to make sure that I'm studying past models' work. So you can kind of see right on the left picture, I put the inspo of all inspo. So it's just like this huge gallery of pictures and like a bunch of small little pictures, or a bunch of pictures of like models in the past. And like, if I have a shoot and I know I'm going to have some movement, like I'll be in the mirror 20 minutes a day. I'll practice some of those poses, you know, like arms, flinging the legs, head movements. Same with things like, I'll look at dances, specifically ballerinas, because I think that their movement is so delicate and beautiful. And that's what I want to portray in my pictures. So even if you're not modeling like actively, it's important to always be practicing. And I think that goes, you can say that for pretty much anything you do in life. Like, if you're not actively doing it, you can still be improving. Like during the summer break, just because you're not at school, you can still read, you can still write, you can still practice math questions. I don't know. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys with the extra tips. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so these are a few of the brands that I've worked with. You're good. These are a few of the brands that I've worked with. Maybelline was a TV commercial, and that was nuts because that really did end up on TV, and people would actually be like, oh my God, you look familiar. Or I was eating tacos with my friend once. I almost flipped the table because the TV was on and my face came up on the TV, and I was like midway with the taco, and I was like, like I literally almost flipped the table. I was in shock that I just saw myself on TV on this random day in this random taco restaurant. I was truly, I can't even explain it. It's still nuts. It's still nuts. Another brand, and so Maybelline was really fun because the production of that was insane. Like the set was huge. Like, and I'm telling you, like, even though I've only been modeling for 2.5 years. So like, if I get a booking for Maybelline, I'm still excited. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still like, what? I'm still like giggling and everything. So when I went on set, like the set literally looked like a movie set. First of all, there was 100 team members. Can you believe it? To shoot 3 girls, 100 team members. Like it looked like we were shooting a movie. You can kind of see like the green screen. It was cool to see how everything was done. I got there at like 5 a.m. I didn't leave till like 1 a.m. It was a really long day, and it was far in Jersey and everything, but I got paid really well, and it was just cool as heck to be on TV. So I really liked that. And I've also done Milk. And I recently, just the other day, I'm booked Revlon, which I'm really excited about. I'm shooting that on Wednesday. And I think what's funny about me booking these makeup commercials is that I never grew up feeling beautiful. And when I entered modeling, I didn't exactly want to be a makeup model. Like I was thinking of myself more as like high fashion and like more of like the unconventional kind of thing, like part of the industry. But right now I'm booking a lot of makeup stuff and I find it a bit ironic. Not to say that I never thought I was beautiful, but you know, when you grow up in areas that are mostly white people, then you kind of start to believe that because their beauty standard is white people, of course. And I grew up in Arizona. I was the only Black girl at school. So did I think that I could be the face of beauty makeup? No, of course not. Like I never really considered that, but it's funny because it's not like anything changed. I've had the same face since I was young. It's nothing changed. It's what I thought was possible in my head that has gotten me to this point. Because when I moved to New York, then I was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of different shades of people here. Because in Arizona, there was only white people. So I got to New York. So then that expanded my consciousness, right? So I started to see more people. Then I was like, wait, everybody's beautiful. It's not just one kind of person. And that expanded my consciousness. And then boom, like it just kept expanding and expanding until I believed in myself enough to do things like this. So again, it always starts here. And I think that's the most powerful gift that God has given us, or the universe. I don't necessarily believe in like one God, but when I say God, I just mean like the universe. And I just love that the universe has let us create literally whatever worlds we want to create. Like you can have whatever life you want, but you just have to write the script in your head. I promise you. It sounds crazy, but it's true. Like I just say, you know what, I want to do this project next. And then sometimes it just happens. So it really starts with the mind. But I just went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. So another brand that I worked with was Blanc magazine. And what was cool about that was a Black woman owned magazine. And so the shoot had originally said it was an editorial shoot, so a fashion shoot for Louis Vuitton times the magazine. And obviously I was so excited. And I was like, well, like I'm wearing to be like, I got to set, we were wearing dripped out straight in Louis Vuitton, like head to toe, like Louis Vuitton. It was insane. Louis Vuitton's one of those brands you grow up like knowing, but you don't think anything of it. And I was just, me and all the girls on the shoot, we were just wearing Louis. And not only did I not realize it was a magazine, but she ended up putting us on the cover of the magazine. It's actually Walker. So I don't know, the picture's kind of cut, but in the like left bottom corner, you see me in a red jacket, like holding that magazine. That's like me on the cover of it in some random store in New York. And I was like, what? Like, we're on the cover? Are you kidding me? It was really crazy, but it meant a lot that this magazine was owned by a Black woman. And that just made me really, 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 really happy. And also for Milk, a Black woman was the photographer for that as well. And so I feel like a lot of this is revolutionary because like Black women were not allowed to take up all these endeavors before. And another brand that I loved working with was Daily Paper. And like Daily Paper is like one of the only like high fashion kind of brands that are African. So this brand is like started by like 3 African men, and they're living in Europe. And I shot for them twice, which was cool because like rebooking a brand is really fun. But the first time that I shot for them, like I hadn't really heard of them. And I got to set and, you know, we shot it and everything. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then a few weeks later, they were like, oh yeah, they want to make it a billboard in Amsterdam. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So it's so funny because I always go into these things with like, I'm just happy to be there. And then they end up exploding into these wonderful things. So yeah, those are a few of the brands that I have worked with that have been fun. And hopefully I can add more to my roster. Okay, next. So as fun as that was, it's time to talk about the struggle. But I already kind of mentioned a few of the struggles, but I wanted to just come on here and tell you like the reality of it. And there's in being a model also comes with a lot of insecurities, but I guess I'll start with like my first thing. You're probably thinking inclusion / fake inclusivity. Okay, so basically what I mean by that is like my whole life I've kind of been like, okay, the weird one. Like I've been very shy, I've been off, I've been weird. But ever since I became what society thinks is beautiful, it's been nice to be included in this fashion world, because it's so funny. Like the fashion world is full of people who were told that they like all those like weird things about them, like that they were made fun of, is now why they're models. So it's like this entire world of like people who used to be bullied, but then now we're getting paid for our looks. So it's kind of like one of those oxymoronic things about life. But yeah, a lot of people are have experienced exactly what I experienced. So I think it's cool to be in that group of people and to be included finally in a group of people, if like into a group of people. So I think that's dope. And I'm really grateful for that. But then at the same time, it's also fake, because then it starts to get weird. Then it's like, all right, have you done this big job? For example, have you done Gucci? Have you done Louis? Have you done Michael Kors? Have you done the big names? No, you're not in this club. Okay, you're not in this. You're not included in this. It's very much like, it's still the dynamic of like the popular girls versus like, and the populars versus like the nerds versus like, it's still kind of that dynamic, but it's just a little different. So it feels like everyone's including you, but then at the same time, it starts to get a little bit, it starts to get a little fake. It can start to feel a little fake. I think that's the best way to put it. So next I had tokenism and exotification. So I put tokenism because sometimes you just get to set, and it was very clear that it wasn't a set about having multiple talents on set. It was just about, okay, we just need to have one Black, one Asian, and like one Hispanic, and then the rest can be whatever we want. So it kind of feels like when I go down set, it's like, okay, we needed that one Black girl, that one African girl. So it's not the best thing. It's not fun. I don't like when that happens. Like, because on one end, you're very grateful that they're including your people, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, okay, well, we just needed you to fulfill this purpose, but you don't really mean much to us. That's how it can feel too. Another thing I've experienced a lot of has been exotification. And that's so funny because before it was like, oh, you're African. It was this taboo thing. It was this weird thing. Like we didn't really talk about that in the earlier 2000s, because now there's like cancel. Well, first of all, there's access to more knowledge, I feel, because of the internet. And then there's cancel culture. And then, there's all of these like social things that we have in place now that stop us from, or that don't permit us to saying inappropriate things like we might have in the earlier 2000s. So like things people were saying to me in middle school about my skin color or like my looks, for example, they'd get canceled for that now. So in this weird way now, people who used to be like, oh, you're African, that's weird. Now it's like, oh, wow, you're African. You're from the motherland. Your skin is so this. Oh, it's shiny, it's golden. So it's kind of like as if it's the exact same kind of, like it's still, the people are still making me feel like I'm this weird separate entity, except they can't exactly say it in a mean way. So they figure out these like a loophole through it by like saying I look like chocolate or just weird things like this. So I feel like that happens a lot in modeling as well. People want that like African exotic look. And I don't know if that's for the right reasons, because they appreciate the beauty, or if they're just being weird and if their prejudices are affecting them. So that's, oh, thank you for the comment. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know now, and I hope that you know too, even though I cannot see anyone's camera. But I know that everyone in here is, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. That everyone in here is also gorgeous. And I hope that we're not letting anybody at school or just in those, I know you guys probably, where do you guys live again? I'm sorry.
Carroll County.
Right. Just knowing that those people kind of had like, they have like closed minds. So just know, like, if you feel, and it'd be so funny, like, I'd come home from school one day after getting like bullied all day by the white boys, and I'd be like, it's so weird, like, I genuinely feel pretty. And then have to be like, well, maybe, I guess I'm not. But I'd like look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I swear I'm kind of pretty. I feel like these people are crazy. But then it's like, that's how I thought at first. But then years and years of people telling you, like, that starts to fade away. Then you're kind of like, well, maybe they're right. You know, I can only stay strong for so long. So, but you have to, or else you could be missing out on huge opportunities. I mean, if I didn't keep telling myself that I was beautiful, I would have missed out on all of these fantastic opportunities that I told you guys about. So that's how I feel about that. Onto the, colorism, Lord. Okay, so funnily enough, actually, typically we know how colorism works. Like, if you're light skinned, you're doing great. If you're dark skinned, people have a problem with that. But what I notice in the industry is a lot of white and lighter skin models are feeling as if the only people that brands want to cast nowadays are darker skin models. So typically, I find that really really interesting. So I'm gonna kind of leave a question mark on the colorism. There is still colorism going on. I guess they just reversed like the order of it, kind of, but it's still colorism. It's still off. It's still rooted in racism, and like it's still rooted in prejudices and things like that. So yeah, definitely a lot of colorism. But interestingly enough, I feel like within the modeling world, I don't experience colorism as much. Like, I don't feel like there's like this hierarchy of skin. And it's because if, let's say I go to a party in Brooklyn, like maybe I'll feel the colorism a little bit more because I know the history of Black America. But for example, within the industry, the chances of you booking a job, if you're light skin or if you're dark skin, it seems like they're pretty equal. So they can't really be this like hierarchy of who's better, because if I go into the job with another girl and then I book it, what can you really say? What do you have on me? But you know, that's up for, some people would tell you it's still really hard as a dark skin model. So I think that's up for debate. That's definitely still kind of like a question mark on there, but there's still a lot to work on. Sexism, of course, sexism, just being in, and I'm gonna tie this one in with over-sexualization. And you can send me a little message if I'm talking too long, like if we're like late on time, I'm almost done. But sexism and over-sexualization. So I would say sexism happens. I've experienced that just because, like, at the end of the day, it is a male, like, mostly women are successful in this industry. But if you think about who owns the brands, who owns the casting the casting agencies, the modeling agencies, it's men. So at the end of the day, like, it's still, you're kind of just like the pretty mannequin girl there who's supposed to just still listen to the man. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate, but that's kind of like, I'm just being real with you guys. But I will say this is the one industry where women make more than men. So it feels really amazing to be a part of this industry. And I'm like, heck yes, 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 yes. A lot of men get paid more in pretty much every single other job industry. So it's really nice to kind of like have that. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Racism is still pretty blatant in the industry. I think it really depends on the client. Like, if the client is, American clients are great. Like, I don't really, let's say American clients, when I say that, I mean like Nike, Target, things like that. They're nice, but I would say if you were to go to a casting in France for Chanel and Louis Vuitton, I'm not quite sure how the response could be varied. They could be very kind or they could be very mean. Like I said, those like social barriers that we have in place, like cancel culture and things like that, they don't really have that in Europe yet. So like you can't really like lose your job over microaggressions, if that makes sense. So I feel like the racism is still blatant in the industry, but it really just depends on which country that you're dealing with and like where, you know, which brand and like where that brand is from, the history of that brand. Fat phobia. Yeah, so this one's also kind of up there with colorism just because like the industry has changed. So people, you know, you can't really tell someone they're fat, you can't tell them to change their weight, but it's still very subtle because how come everyone's body is welcome, but when I go to do a fitting, the pants don't fit me or something. And it makes it feel like I'm the one at fault when they could have just made bigger pants, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? So like, and certain brands will not budge on the kinds of models they use. So let's go again. Let's go again through the high fashion ones like Valentino, old fashion house. They design those big gowns. They use all kinds of models now. They don't discriminate. But a brand, for example, like Balenciaga, they have never used a plus size model ever in any of their work up until this point. So it really depends. Some are really still trying to stick to tradition. And again, Balenciaga is French. So you see, like, depending on where the brand, depending on the history of the brand, right? So, or the history of the country that belongs to the brand, or that the brand belongs to, I should say. So fat phobia, you know, things are changing. You'll see plus size models on the runway, thank God now, but there's still like, you know, there's still undertones of that. And I really hope that one day it'll just be gone. Praying for that. And last but not least, over sexualization. I feel like I've been at shoots sometimes where like, again, I've been on set, like the designer's a man and, you know, he thinks that he can maybe like, I don't know, I'm changing. He thinks he can just not come into the changing room, but like help me like with the pants or something. And it's just like, okay, I got it myself. You know what I mean? Like there are moments where people will try to take opportunities within the fact, because it is about clothes at the end of the day to like, I'm trying to not traumatize anyone. There's nothing, again, there's nothing blatant because you can definitely get canceled. But at the end of the day, sometimes I feel that be it a photographer, a makeup artist, a designer, a stylist, they can get a bit comfortable with you. And you have to know your boundaries and you have to know when to say no. And also you have to understand that even if you are appearing as sexy, you're in a sexy outfit, you're posing sexy, it doesn't mean that that's how people should project their sexual desires or fantasies onto you, especially, you know, once you get offset and you're just you. I'm just me at the end of the day. Like, I don't like to be treated in any other way just because I'm a model. And I don't like to be over sexualized just because I'm a model. You know what I mean? Especially like if I'm not on set. Because like 90% of the time I'm like at home chilling or walking down the street going to school. So that was like those are a few of the problems that you encounter in the industry and a few of my insecurities for sure. Next slide. So a really good question you had for me was, how do I balance everything? And I would say that like all the insecurities that I just mentioned, like I have to figure out how to counteract them so that I can be emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually stable. So I would say, you know, through balancing friends, family, school, my career, work, bills, I do meditation, yoga, journaling, reading, my hobbies, my friends, my self-care, my family, and relaxation. And I honestly, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you guys all of this, because it's true. This is really how I cope. Like, being a model is really hard. It's really hard being told no. It's hard being told you're not pretty enough, or you're not skinny enough, or you're not tall enough, or you're not light enough. These are things that people say. And it's really harsh. And genuinely, I would say that it's not even about going to like $1,000 spa and like relaxing. I would say it's the simple things that you can do in the mornings. Every single morning, I meditate for 20 minutes, because then my head can be clear. My mind is just clear. And meditation isn't just about clearing your thoughts. It's about watching your thoughts as well. So watching your thoughts and saying, hey, these are some negative thoughts. Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling this way? What is going on? That goes into, then you journal it out, you write it out. Because then when you have to put things pen to paper, you start to realize a lot of things about yourself. You might think to yourself, hey, this insecurity is kind of ridiculous now that I'm writing it, or now that I'm saying it out loud. Like you see, so it's kind of like you walking through your own problems. So I'd say journaling, I would say yoga. I do a lot of stretching, because I think it's so easy to hold tension in your body. Yoga, it really releases stress, because when your muscle, when they're all stressed, you're gonna feel stressed yourself. So I do that in the morning as well. I read a lot, because if you're smarter than not smarter, I'm sorry. If you read more than most, then the things that they say can't really hurt you, because then you understand where it's coming from. Or if let's say you read a lot of history books and you're a model like me, for example, you'll understand a bit better the racist history of a client that you might be working with. And it just being smart and having knowledge, it's genuinely power. It really is. I do a lot of hobbies. I do a lot of like dancing and hot yoga. It's really good to I love yoga as well, because it like stretches me out, and like I like when I'm posing, I can kind of do like some of the poses that like I learned during yoga. And I like to dance. I love hip hop dancing, just because I love hip hop in general. And hip hop dancing also helps me pose, because then I can just like get into the groove, because sometimes they like those dancing in motion shots. Friends, because friends are always going to tell you the reality of it. When I'm feeling like worthless, or like, oh, I'm never gonna book a job again, my friends are like, you are beautiful, like, don't worry, breathe, work it out. Same with my family. I do a lot of self-care naturally, just because it is my job to like look like bright and happy. So I do a lot of face masks, and like I try to go to like spa rooms once a month. And also, I forgot to put this in there, but traveling, because I feel like when you're in one place for too long, your brain can't fathom the fact that there's more worlds and more adventure out there to see. So I try to like save up all my money, and I go out and I travel with my friends, and we see the world, and we're like, oh my God, there is a world beyond just our stressful few problems that we have at the house, at our homes, back at home. So I would say that that's really, 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 really important for me. And never forget, like, experience over everything. So even, I went to Italy, Paris, and London this summer. I came home, I didn't have much money left, because I kind of used it all to travel, but it was amazing. It was beautiful. And I'm very happy that I went. And I would say, yeah, that's pretty much it. Next slide. Thank you so much for your time. I know I just talked forever, but thank you so much for your time, and I'm taking any questions, but yeah.
That was so good. Oh my God. I
Thank
actually do not
you.
know that much about the modeling industry, besides like just a few things I would see here and there. So it's definitely beneficial to hear all of that from you. But I do have a question.
Yes.
Does the atmosphere and like all of that feel any different, like when you're working with brands that are owned by Black people? Like I know you mentioned was it the daily paper that was owned by?
Yes. Um, okay, so yes, I would say that, yes, definitely, actually. I would say that the atmosphere on the set feels a lot different because when I shot for Daily Paper, the entire set, the photographer was African, the stylist was African, everyone was African. So we were listening to like African music, the vibes were great. We were all talking about like our experiences back home. So yes, it definitely feels amazing when it's like a black owned or African owned brand. And also like, even if the set isn't full of African people, still at the end of the day, when you release the project, it feels so great because you know you're releasing it to your people, you know you're releasing it to your community, you know you're releasing it to people who are gonna take it in. It's gonna be more impactful, more meaningful to them. So it makes all the difference. It really does. And I saw a question. Oh my God, I'm like a grandma. Okay. 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 Yes, of course. Advice if you're entering I would say like before anything, like don't never give up on yourself. But before you even start with all that, ask yourself if this is exactly what you want to do. And if it is, and if that's an 100% yes, then never, ever, 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 ever give up. Ever. Like you can't. Like a million people are gonna tell you no, like you cannot give up. You really can never give up. Always be confident in yourself. And I would say, don't change a thing about yourself. Don't say, oh, like I need to work out, or oh, I need to dye my hair to this, I need to do that. Because what I realize now is in the industry, what people appreciate more than anything is being unique. So you can be five. Before it was like you had to be tall, you had to be slim. You can be plus size, you can be average size, you can be short. There's like a really short girl at my agency. You can be super short. You can be you shouldn't my roommate, your cousin, she's short and she would always tell me, oh, I don't think, or she's not short, but in the modeling industry, she's like 5'5", so that's short. And I brought her to the milk casting with me because I was like, girl, you're gorgeous, your face is stunning, like you have a great look, like who cares if you're short? And guess what? She got the campaign. We got the campaign together. It wasn't about her height. It was about how I'm sure get like nice and like shiny and smiley and bubbly she seemed at the interview, at the makeup interview. So it's about your personality, and you have to stick to your personality because once you do make it, people start to like cater to your personality. You see what I'm saying? So like people start to cater to the things that you like. So it's like, okay, I've made it. I'm myself. I don't have to change for anyone. And then the brand starts saying, hey, would you want to do a project where maybe we talk about, or maybe a project where you speak Chinese or something? Because they like that. That's what's unique about me. So they cater to me. And now the brand, you see what I'm saying? So always be yourself, because they love that. Be unique, because they can find clones anywhere, and you wouldn't want to be a disposable clone. Be yourself, and then never give up. Yep, that's my advice. Yeah.
And then I had another question.
Mhm.
So you kind of talked about like how you in like the industry, like there's always going to be people that will like kind of pick apart like the different insecurities you have. So would you say that like you kind of already had thick skin when entering the modeling industry, or like did you kind of like grow that?
Mm, honestly, I would say that I had no choice but to grow it, because by the time I got signed, I actually had already given up. Like I had been trying for like 2 years, and I took a year off right before I went to school, because I actually went to community college and then I transferred to NYU. But I took a year off, and my mom works for the air, and I knew I wanted to take a year off because my mom works for the airline, so I travel for free, or I did in the past. So it's like, oh, I'm taking a year off and I'm gonna travel the world. Da, da, da. So then I took a year off. I traveled for the first 6 months, and then I was like, okay, I'm back in New York. I need to focus and I need to get signed because I do not want to go to college. Like I want to be a supermodel. Like I was like, I don't want to go to college, like please. It was like my one thing. I was like, I have to get signed. So I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. Finally August rolls around for school. wasn't signed. I was like, screw this, like I'm giving up. I need to focus on school. Like my parents, everyone's like, girl, you've been saying you're gonna model for like a year now. Like we haven't seen anything. So I just gave up. And it wasn't until November when I had completely given up that I got scouted and somebody signed me. So I would say that I was growing that thick skin throughout all those rejections. So then by the time you actually are in the position to get signed, you're good. And I find that that's what happens a lot of the time. Like you're always like, life molds you so that you're ready. You never go into the situation not ready. The experiences before they mold you, and then you're ready. So yeah, I would say growing up in Arizona, the only Black girl that I grew up with, I grew a lot of thick skin through that. Like a lot of thick skin through that. And then moving to New York, this place is tough. This place is rough. These kids are no joke. Grew a lot of thick skin through that. Like the East Coast is not a joke. And then when I started modeling, then I was like, all right, y'all can't tell me nothing. I've been through it all. Like I've had a rough time this whole time. And I think people love that when you're confident. They love when you're confident, for sure. So it's better to just fake it. Seriously, just fake it, because then next thing you know, you won't even realize that you're faking it. It's like, oh wait, this is actually who I am now. I saw Oh yes, I love NYU. Oh my gosh, I'm literally getting so much smarter. And I would never, in the past year ago, I would have never said that. Like I would have never been like, oh, I feel smart, but I genuinely feel smart. Like I feel way smarter. I feel like everything, and I feel like a lot of the people in the industry, they belittle school. You know what I mean? Like if you're a model and you go to school, people see it like, oh, like, oh, you had to go to school, huh? Because your career is not going well, so you had to go to school, right? And it's like, I am going to have so many options when I'm done modeling. I'm gonna be and I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna know what I'm talking about. Like I told you, when I get on set, I'm gonna be able to talk to the higher ups, to the business people, to the people who understand things. So it's really, really, really good that I'm in school right now. I'm loving it. I love NYU. I'm learning so much. They have so much resources. You need to talk to someone. The next day, you have like 4 advisors in your email trying to set up a Zoom with you. It's amazing. I'm really, really appreciative and happy that I go there. And I think a lot of the stuff I see a lot of people on Instagram and TikTok talk about being like activists and reformists and like things like that. And it's just funny seeing like the bare minimum that being an Instagram activist actually does for you. Because it's like, nobody's actually taking the time to understand why we are in the situation that we're in. I saw so many people talking about the abortion ban, and I was like, dude, people don't understand the history of it. They don't understand the decisions that made us get here. They don't understand how to get out of it. They don't understand the systems that are built to oppress us and women. Like there's so much more than just like, vote no if you're against it on your Instagram poll. You know what I mean? So I feel like everyone, at the same time that they're belittling the people who go to school and like being an intellectual, being smart, is like nerdy or whatever. It's like, but those people would really benefit from the classes that I take at NYU, for example, because then the people who can actually understand the actual politics, the science behind these actual social issues, those are the people who can change the future later on, because they get it, because they studied, not just like an Instagram poll, you know, or they didn't just read an Insta slide. So yeah, I think that I was just trying to tie that into like the whole modeling thing. Like it's great to be a model, but I'm loving being a student too. Honestly, I love it just as much, to be honest. Yeah. That's my answer.
I think someone else had a question. I saw someone unmute, but I wasn't sure who.
Oh, in the chat? Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Any other questions?
I was wondering something. I was wondering, like, do you feel like there have been like people or like really special like resources or something like that that have supported you and like are like the reason we're at today, like in the modeling industry, or would you like attribute most of your success to like your own perseverance and like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
which do you think
Um,
is like stronger factor?
well, I would say that, like, first of all, I motivated myself, obviously. But then I signed a contract, right? And the contract was with a mother agency. And a mother agency is an agency that signs on people who have never modeled before, who are new, basically who have like little baby faces that need to be developed. You know, they need to, so the mother agency, they give you like a 2 to 3 year contract, they take you in, they act like your mother, they like literally like you're like this little baby to the industry, you're a child, you're a toddler, you don't know what's going on. And then they help you take like practice through test shoots, right? So like a lot of practice photo shoots. Um, um, they support you more than like a really big agency would. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like going from a community college to like high school community college 4 year rather than like high school straight to 4 year. So like that's what I did with modeling. Like I started with a mother and they really helped support me. Like they believed in me when no one else did. They helped me take my initial shoot pictures. They took my measurements. They taught me right from wrong. They taught me like, okay, this is the industry. So yeah, I needed them. I really needed them because I wouldn't have been able to do any of that on my own. Like I would not have had the contacts over at all those brands and stuff. And like, I would have just been out here, no one to manage me. So I would say if you do want to get signed, I would look for a mother agency specifically, because if you go to a big agency, they already let's say you go to the big agency that Bella Hadid is at. That's great because they'll have the great connections. But then let's say they're gonna call that agency and they're only gonna want to book Bella Hadid and a few of her friends, you know, people who are on that level. But when you're with a mother agency, like a smaller one, and there's less of you or there's fewer of models on the board, then when a brand comes and they need someone who looks like me, I'm competing with less people, if that makes sense. So it's like good to be with like a smaller one first, and then you can get with the bigger ones when you feel strong enough, when you feel powerful enough, when you feel ready. Yeah, that's my advice. So definitely thank you, mother agent. Love them. They helped me. They really helped me out.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Also, this isn't my name, by the way, to everyone. I'm using my friend's computer, but this is so not my name. Just wanted to make that clear. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to me for a whole hour. I really appreciate it. I had a really good time.
Thank you so much for coming and like taking your time to even make that whole presentation. It was definitely really beneficial.
Of course.
I'm so glad you were able to come.
Yes, of course. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And yeah, you guys can like text me, like follow on my Insta. I'll put it in the thing. If you guys have any advice, because I have like a whole list of agencies. So if you guys do want to apply, I can send you the list. This is my Instagram. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. For people in Carroll County, there's actually a December holiday meeting with the adult chapter at our central location December 15th on Thursday. So you guys can, I'll send more information about that so you guys can go see it. But yeah, that's everything. Any questions, comments, concerns? Good.
No, also, I'm sorry. I like joined late because I was with Crow with their birthday.